All right, what's up, everyone? It's Cam, your host of Get a Load of This podcast. And today's going to be a great day, as always, because you are a trucker or in the trucking industry, and it's the greatest industry in America or in the world for that matter. You keep America moving. So, as always, your host, I'm the founder of Valley Trucking Insurance and co-founder of Get a Load of This podcast. I've got with me special co-host, Thomas. Thomas, what's happening, man?
What's happening, guys?
So Thomas works with me over at the Valley Trucking side. He specializes in trucking and transportation insurance along with myself. So he's been with me many years. So it's been a fun ride thus far. Many more to come.
Something like 6 now, right?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
So I can't trade you in like a cell phone. I wish I could sometimes, but
Sometimes. I mean, it's only a cracked screen, I promise.
Yeah, right. Let's go to the CPR store and get that fixed. Today's guest is awesome. I was actually introduced to our special guest Ricky today from a good friend and client of mine. Rick's coming out of Las Vegas, and I'll let him pretty much introduce himself. But he's been a valuable asset and resource for a number of different reasons, which we'll dive into in today's episode. And I think you guys will be excited to chat with Ricky as I am. So, Ricky, welcome, man. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Doing good.
Yeah.
It's a busy season right now, so we're getting after it and trying to deal with all the different issues and everything we're having on the factory side as far as getting trucks built and what's going on that side, and continuing to consult fleets and move some freight. So
yeah, man, it's a good time in the industry. And for those that don't know, Ricky works with Kenworth, and I'll let him give you kind of the high level and overview. But for how we got introduced, he's basically a sales consultant, fleet consultant, kind of an all-around resource. I'd call him a connection man and a very valuable asset and resource to anyone that is really in the trucking industry, needing trucks, needing connections, needing advice on growth or whatever. So, Ricky, let's give the folks a little bit of background as to what led you to where you're at now, and then you can talk a little bit about what you do now. So,
sure. So, well, I mean, I've been in trucking as long as I've been alive. My dad has been a truck driver. His grandpa, and probably since my family multiple generations ago came to America, we've been in logistics in some form or fashion. So at this stage, growing up, I watched my dad in trucks, and my dad's big point of emphasis is he didn't actually want to see us in the logistics industry, and I didn't want to be in the logistics industry. I didn't want to go be a driver. It's a hard life. I mean, I got to see it take its toll on my family, and on one hand, you develop a lot of respect for truckers and what they do, but on the other hand, it's you kind of tell yourself it's not something you want for your family. You want to be home more. You want to watch your kids grow up and be there for your wife and help her when you can, and so on and so forth. And but I turned 18 and went right into the trucking industry, actually. So I became a freight broker for Total Quality Logistics, which is unfortunately probably not the greatest name a lot of your viewers are going to want to hear. They have a love-hate relationship with a lot of the trucking world, but that's kind of where I got my feet wet, is as a freight broker. I worked for them for 4 years, moved a lot of freight for some big accounts, and started to learn a lot about the logistics industry there. There's especially the bigger you grow your book of business and the more coordinators and people you have working under you, you need to learn a lot. So no college, probably wasn't the brightest move, but I'm not the brightest guy. So went right into that and just kind of learned, trial by fire, essentially, trial by error, and learned a lot on the freight side and the logistics side. After that, I kind of opened my own little consulting firm, and in addition to which is me and still active today, and as well, a year after I left TQL to come work for Kenworth, I also opened my own freight brokerage and started brokering freight as well, which leads us to today's situation. For the last, I think, 2.5, 3 years, I've been working as a fleet consultant for Kenworth Sales Company. So my job here is essentially to make certain recommendations to make fleets more profitable, and in addition to that, of course, sell them trucks. So that's really where that comes in. So, but I've kind of been able to link all those different resources that I've learned in my past to help a lot of trucking companies, typically smaller companies, get started and continue to grow and have some success, and not have to go through the trial by error experience. I know I did, and a lot of these trucking companies have to, because unfortunately in this industry, there's no rule book, right? You don't get to go get a 4-year bachelor's degree and know how to run a trucking company, because there's so many different parts of the company in general, as far as the business side and the trucking and the logistics side, and how to deal with freight, how to get insurance, and so on and so forth. So how to obtain financing, all of this stuff. So like you said, I just try to be the median, the connection man, to find enough people and resources to give to my fleets, so they can understand what to do, accomplish their goals, and continue to grow typically.
That's awesome. One of the questions that we ask, Ricky, especially being trucking centric and working in and around the industry, if you had a CB handle, what would your CB handle be?
Oh my goodness, I don't know if it's a podcast appropriate.
It's a trucking podcast. It's
Yeah, we can say whatever we want.
So I had my football team, and it's kind of stuck for when I played PlayStation a lot, was Big Daddy Fat Sack.
I love it.
It'd have to probably be Big Daddy Fat Sack.
There we go. Big Daddy Fat Sack rolling down the road.
That's right.
I like that. I think that is great. I think that a lot of listeners, and myself included, would resonate with, going straight into the industry. I think a lot of folks fall into it from family, from opportunity. There's so many different avenues one can take without, like you had mentioned, a bachelor's degree or a college education. You still have to get some technical degree. You'll have to get some technical experience, kind of school of hard knocks. But like yourself, I came into a trucking family, so I have family, growing up in the driving truck and doing long haul and team from Spokane, Washington to Florida, like the opposite corners of the country. So I've got exposure to it at a young age, and I went into insurance same when I was 20. I wasn't 18, but 20, and it's all I've known, and got introduced to the trucking and construction industry, and that's what I focused on right out the gate. And so it's just been amazing to learn, and like now you start making connections and have valuable resources and assets. And I see firsthand from my perspective with new companies, or even companies that have been in business, the lack of education and the lack of guidance. And there is no shortcuts. You can't shortcut your way to a fleet or whatever your goals are. And so you need people like Ricky, you need people such as ourselves and Thomas to offer guidance or connect you with the people that can help. So that's why, Ricky, you're such a valuable asset and resource to me. And, really people need to start connecting with yourself or folks like you. So, yeah, no shame in the no college, man. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and a lot of folks took that same route, would be my guess.
Well, I was raised with the you're going to go to college mentality, right? Like, it was all I was ever told. And after the military and going to college and everything like that I've done in my life, I definitely have realized that it's not necessary, nor is it good for everybody. So people like you are very loud testaments, I think, to the ability of people to find resources and be able to grow themselves and be successful without those, those game plans, so to speak. And I think that sometimes the school of hard knocks is the best teacher.
It can be. I would say it's a more difficult path to take, but I think you summed it up perfectly, Thomas. It's just not. It's not for everybody. There's certain people that absolutely have to go get a degree. My wife's a teacher, specializes in, autism and Down syndrome and stuff like that. So you definitely got to go to school for education, things like being a doctor and a lawyer and those kind of career fields. Yeah, absolutely. You should go to college. And you typically pay dividends for doing so, but I do. I see so many of my friends. I'm 27 years old now, 27 years old, and I have so many friends who just have massive amounts of college debt, and it's unfortunate because they typically don't even work in the industry they wanted to work in the first place, or even worse, the degree they have doesn't even have an industry. So It's horrible to see, man. It's horrible to see. Life is already hard enough to live, and
Yeah.
then you stack stuff like that on top of it. And we're all taught the same thing. I was too. My parents, that's what they wanted for me. I mean, they really did. They wanted me to go to a 4-year university, graduate, uh, and go live whatever life that I could possibly imagine. And that's a picture that was painted for them and for me, which is, as long as you get that degree, you're good to go. You can do anything you want in life. You want to be a rocket scientist? Just go get a degree in business administration. I mean, like, and as everyone, as we well know, I mean, it's not the truth. I mean, I can't tell you how much stuff I've learned by not only making those connections and just, I mean, when I first became a freight broker, I probably annoyed every single freight broker that had a big book of business in my building, because I just walk up to them probably once a day until they finally said yes and said, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee? Let's go grab a cup of coffee. I just want to pick your brain on a couple of different things. And I did the same thing as soon as I got to the dealer. Hey, like, can we meet up for a beer? And I just want to pick your brain on a couple things. And I've learned far more that way, and and with making those relationships and with books and YouTube videos and podcasts just like this, then I believe, unfortunately, 95% of the people who have a diploma, did. So it's weird.
Yeah, I actually ended up getting a psychology degree myself. I was minoring in like philosophy and things like that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go teach college. After I got the 4-year degree, I was just done wanting to go to school. So now I have a 4-year degree in psychology, which is not useful at all as far as gaining employment goes.
In what we do.
It is for interpersonal communication for sure,
Absolutely.
but as far as careers go and what we're talking about here with that game plan of life, it definitely isn't applying. I don't have a career in it. It's useless for me besides saying, oh, look, I have a 4-year degree, which Cameron, when he hired me, he didn't give a shit. All he said was, you're willing to work. You're working for free until you make your money. Okay, that's done, But kind of a cool thing. I mean, you're talking about being able to take these guys out and learn from them over beer and coffee. So that's kind of that was your classroom. You got to go out and hang out with people that you respected in the industry, pick their brains, and drank and ate and all that stuff with them. And then when you graduated, you became successful. So it's kind of the same process. It's just a different title of what the process is.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And a degree in psychology is way different than a degree in like liberal arts. Not hating on the great, but I'm just saying, right? Like a psychology degree, you learned intangible skills. You developed a skill set that you can then apply. That created value that you can then apply to society to benefit you and others around you. Right? You've made yourself more valuable by developing that skill set. I 100% believe in that. Now, regardless if you get that from a college education, picking the brains of experts in your industry, or in building communications, or reading books, or whatever your source of education is, that's a higher education is a higher education. I mean, and I'm not a hater of college either. Like I said, my wife has a bachelor's in education, and my sister has an MBA in something or another. So I mean, it's definitely valuable, and yeah, you'd be one of those people I sit down and pick your brain. It's just, I feel like that $4 cup of coffee is worth $40,000, is worth a $40,000 psychology degree. I buy the $4 cup of coffee, you go get the $40,000 psychology degree, teach me everything you know.
Well, you're close. I actually ended up paying 50 all said and done, but whatever.
Yeah, shout out to student debt. All right, shifting gears. Shifting gears. Let's dive into what makes Ricky valuable. I'm a trucking company. All of a sudden, it's December. My CPA says, "Man, you got to buy 3 trucks. We need to get this tax bill down." I call Ricky, and he laughs at me. Really, is what he would do, and be like, "Have you paid attention to anything? You can't buy a truck right now. That's crazy." But let's dive into what makes you valuable, Ricky. So let's run us through. Let's just say somebody wanted to get in touch with you, or I refer somebody over to you that is 3 to 5 trucks. It's like, we want to get to 12 trucks. Here's our plan. How do we do that? What do we need to do? Who do we need to talk to? And let's run through some of the value that you bring to those guys.
Sure. Well, the first step is to figure out exactly where they're at right now, right? So if they're a single truck owner operator in the industry, freight's paying substantially better rates than it was a year or two ago, and so they're making good money. I'd ask them a lot of questions. I'd ask them questions. Where do you get your freight now? Is it a shipper? Are you on DAT or Internet Truck Stop, one of these load boards? Do you have any relationships with do you run consistent lanes, or are you in all 48 all over the place? I'd ask them, what are their goals if you want to get to 10 to 12 trucks? Have you looked into hiring drivers? What are you scared of, right? And what is confusing to you? What do you understand and what do you not understand about the path to be able to get there, right? And then, of course, from there, I'd ask them, why not 100 trucks? Why 10 or 12? If this is your overarching goal, how did you come up with that number of 10 to 12? What's your why? Right. So, and then once I have that information, I develop a game plan for them. That's typically first meeting. I'd schedule another meeting with the game plan that I put together that I'd recommend. So as far as trucks, here's what we do. That's of course my forte. I can help you with A, B, C, D, and E. And here's how we're going to get those trucks. Here's the time frame that we're going to get them in. Now, when those trucks land, you're going to need a lot of things. First and foremost, you're going to need money. You're definitely going to need money.
Lots of that.
There's that.
And a lot of people, when they say they want 10 or 12 trucks, by the time they get to me, they say they want them yesterday, right? Well, do you want to do 2 in the first year, 4 in the next year, 8 in the next year, or how do you want to structure it? Oh, no, I want 10 or 12 in January if it's at all possible, And so if that's setting those expectations for one on my end, and then I dive into the stuff, the other segments in order to run that successful trucking business. What does your safety and compliance look like, right? How are you currently insured? Who are you insured from? Who you're insured through? Does that insurance agent put any parameters as far as how quick you can grow and how big you can get? A lot of insurance companies, as I'm sure you guys know, they don't want to see you grow at rapid growth, right? That's a huge risk for them. Finance, can we get you a simple approval through in-house financing? Plugging PACCAR Financial and BMO here, who are fantastic commercial equipment lenders. Are you partnered with a bank yet? Are you based here in Las Vegas? So once we kind of start tackling those issues, we can kind of set up the structure and everything that you need to just get the truck itself and actually own that equipment. After that, of course, you got trailers, and then you get into what I've determined to be the really hard stuff where you can really make or break your business, which is finding drivers. That's huge. I put a ton of time and effort into find the best practices and ways to find drivers. What resources pay dividends and what doesn't. And then B is partnering with a shipper. Luckily for me, I have a lot of experience in that, being that I was a freight broker and I would make 100 outbound dials a day to try to partner with shippers. So I do have connections in that area, but more than likely, I'll just kind of recommend and teach them the path to be able to find a shipper. But I guess what I'm getting at is every trucking company is going to be different. It's so funny. I mean, when you think of trucking company, you think the same business model, same thing for everybody. But everybody wants their trucking company to look different. Everybody wants it to be, everyone has different focal points, and everyone has different goals. So, once you figure out all that information, then at that point, my job becomes really easy, right? I refer them over to connections I've made into my industry, and I sell them some dang trucks.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head, and it's funny because we take a similar approach. Moving freight is simple. You agree to move a load from point A to point B in the time frame you agreed, safely and secure, right? That's the premise and concept of trucking. But there's so many different unique challenges that individual companies face, or niche markets face, or whatever obstacles, depending on location or ports or not port, all that kind of stuff that present different challenges. So while on the insurance standpoint, yes, I'm insuring a truck and I'm insuring your company for, millions of dollars and all this stuff. Every single company is unique, and you have to take the time to uncover their motivations. What's the goals? What drives this company in the first place? Why did you start a company? Ricky, you and I had chatted about that before we went live. We'll get a lot of folks that drove as a company driver for a fleet, or maybe even a leased operator, owner op, something like that. And then they say, I'm going on my own. I think I can do this. I now have the confidence. I've gained some contacts and connections. Maybe I'm not being treated great. Maybe they don't give me any guidance or resources or whatever the motivations may be. That's for them to figure out. And then boom, they start a new company. That's where guys like Ricky come in. It's like, hey, let me help you. That's where what we really try to focus on, educating the client, right? I bet you don't have to try too hard to sell trucks.
Not right now.
Yeah.
When I first started, it wasn't this way. But it's the same thing with freight. That's what's really scary to me right now. Right? Is what's really scary right now are there's these outlandish expectations for people in the freight market. You can go out and call on a load at and go get $4 a mile. Pulling a reefer or dry van even. The high threes and even more and. It's pretty easy to be profitable. Nothing's easy about this industry. Kind of backtracking, but it's a lot easier to be profitable. You don't have to crunch as many numbers. You can be a lot more loose with your business and still have massive success. And it's not that way traditionally speaking, and it's not always going to be that way.
No.
It's important for these guys to understand why that is the case and the same thing on my end with selling trucks. Like I tell all of my fleets the same thing every single time. Ideally, you take Origin for instance and their growth rate and all the success they've had, which has been, they're just such an amazing story and great people to work with. And but I got a certain amount of slots allocated to me as a sales rep. 10 of those went to, well, I shouldn't probably be sharing their personal business, but I'm sure John wouldn't mind. They have 10 coming for their fleet. It would have been much more financially advantageous for me as a sales rep, being that I'm commissioned, to not sell those 10 trucks to a fleet and partial them out, to owner operators where I can make a much higher margin. But this market's not going to last forever. And as supply chain shortages kind of get fixed and feds continue to taper bond buyback and everything that they're doing, and you see these changes made and the economy's slow down a little bit, those fleets are going to be the ones that you really want to be partnered with, such as Origin and some of the other ones I work with. So, it's not always going to be that way, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
No, and you've got to plan for the future a little bit. The thing that resonates and stands out actually for our mutual connections, and we've got a few there that we both work with, they plan ahead. Their scheduling for their maintenance is on point. They are forward thinking on their safety and compliance. They think ahead for their growth, so they're not coming to you the month of December saying, okay, I need those 3 trucks. No, they're looking a year and a half, 2 years, like here's what our projection is for growth. And you're right, insurance companies, until you hit a certain point, are not big fans of growth, especially coming out of the 1 to 5 units. And then if you went from 5 to 10, think of it from a standpoint of I'm throwing $1 million per truck on you as a bet, but I'm only basing my knowledge on what you've done with 5 trucks. You're now doubling what you're doing. Do you have the ability and capacity to A, manage that, B, hire drivers? Can you hire them correctly? Can you manage the expectations? Can you grow profitably and safely? Most important, right? Keep the public safe. You move your loads, because a down truck or out of service is no good for anyone. You're not making money. There's a bunch of things that come with it that, like, they're looking at me as an asshole, like, no, you're affecting my ability to earn money, and it's not like that. It's like, let me,
Yeah.
And if you want to do that, guess what? I've got places that'll allow us to do that all day. You're just not going to like the price tag of it. So let's think ahead and factor that cost. And if you choose to take this route, let's plan for it, but you're going to pay exponentially more for the risk because this company is willing to take on that risk versus like a stable growth and, like, I don't want to say preferred or not preferred because that's probably not the right term, but a lot better option, right? So there's just different things that we try to pride ourselves on educating clients, and if they do and hopefully give us the best opportunity to get them in the right place and grow responsibly and get where we need to, they stay in business, we stay in business. Right. I don't make money like you, like off of a single transaction. Like, my business is relationships, man. I want to be that asset resource like you do, connect people like you with my clients because I trust you, and when I know that they're going to be taken care of, and that's how the game works, man. We're in the business of transacting insurance, but it's relationships, right? We just got to take care of it.
It really is. And no, you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, there's and it's your job, right? And that's why it's so great to work with people like you and of course myself, and it's that the reason it's important is because these fleets really do have to plan ahead, and a lot of them don't understand that. I mean, they have so much on their plates already. You know what I mean? They got so much going on and so many things that they got to manage, that they have to partner with good people, such as yourself, Cam, and Thomas, is where, well, same business there. But my point being is to where you guys can make those recommendations to them and say, hey, look, this is what I see, this is what's forecasted, this is what I think is going to happen, and I know these are your goals, and here's what we need to be able to do, and we need to start this 9 months before those trucks lands, or we need to start this, before you take A, B, and C steps. And that's exactly what it is on my end too, especially with these truck shortages. I mean, if you have people with particular goals, we're literally waiting for 2023 to open up right now. I sold out all my build slots that I was allocated in about, I don't know, 10 days.
Holy shit, man.
Wow.
That's bananas.
All of 20.
Well, hey, good for you.
Yeah, it was great for me. I mean, I already know what I'm making next year. It's fantastic, right? But the 2022 is gone, right? So I mean, but they're like, okay, well, what do you now? You just sit on your hands and eat bonbons and hang out. And it's like
not
Ricky.
All.
Now it's 2023, man. We got a game plan for 2023. We need to get out there, make more connections. We need to figure out what else we can do to help these companies. And you guys are exactly the same. And yeah, I mean, 2023 is going to be another big year. And as soon as business opens for 2023, you bet your ass I'm going to be in every single fleet that I work with, and we're going to get more orders on. So it's planning ahead. I mean, right now especially, it's 100% planning ahead, more than ever.
Yeah.
So
there's a concept that I learned, when I was in college about mentalities towards education. We mentioned it a couple times today, and not trying to go back to the college stuff, trying to apply it to the trucking industry here, but there's the fixed mentality, and then there's the growth mentality as far as education goes. People who have more of the fixed mentality tend to think that once they get to a certain point, they think that they know enough to be able to just stay there and use that base of knowledge to be able to grow themselves and be successful or whatever. And then there's the opposite side, which is the growth mentality, which is people, I assume the three of us all fit in the same, I know Cam is, and you definitely seem like it, Richard, that we always want to learn. We always want to keep growing our knowledge base so we can keep planning ahead in order to make the best decisions for ourselves and those around us. And I think that, all this education that we want to do for our clients, whether it's in the insurance or the sales world on your end, is that we want to help educate people so they can be more empowered to be more successful without our help in the long run. And that way we can keep just being mutually beneficial for all of us. And I really think that all three of us can provide a lot of that value for everybody.
yeah, 100%. And I forget who came up with the whole 4-pillar concept, but what one of the things I try to live my life by is like the 4-pillar structure, which is like, I mean, it's some really basic stuff that a lot of people just don't adhere by, which is, good food, making sure that you're eating and you're properly, you have good nutrition, exercise, making sure that you keep your body in good physical health. And anyway, one of those pillars is continuous education, and it's like the biggest one. I mean, by far and large, it's what a lot of people consider to be the most important. And it be continuing to learn about whatever you've decided to dedicate your life to. And if it's trucking, then yeah, there's plenty to learn about in the world of logistics. I call it the invisible industry, because nobody even really ever thinks about it, but it's the backbone of the entire country, and we're seeing that now with what's going on because of COVID and all this stuff that happened. I mean, if you go way back to like when industrialization first started, what was the very first thing we started laying out? Right. I mean, it was
infrastructure, for moving goods. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're building railroads,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, without the railroads, we're screwed. There's no expansion, and that's really what it is. So, yeah, I mean, the industry isn't thought about a lot, but it's a massive one, and there's so much to learn, and it's ever changing. I mean, constantly. I mean, I feel like if California had their way, I mean, we'd probably be, trying to come up. We just make everything stop and figure out a way to like teleport this stuff so there's zero emissions or something. I don't know. I don't know what they would do.
No owner operators, all kinds of stuff they're stripping out.
Right. I mean, like there's the new carb compliance rules. I had to go back and after all the additional surcharges and price increases on equipment, then we go back and we have to ask for an additional $3,000 or so for carb surcharges just because California felt like it, and
Yeah.
they want a prettier sticker on the side of the truck, and so you got to educate yourself on that. I mean, educate yourself what's going on with the supply chain, so you know what direction to take your business and what to expect, and then of course, especially with people like, you guys and myself, if you do want to consult fleets, you damn well need to know what you're talking about, right? You make the wrong recommendation to a business, I mean, this is their livelihood. This is all they got. 9 times out of 10, they're all in. I mean, running one truck, they're well over $250,000 in equipment and so on and so forth. This is big boy money that these people are putting on the line. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's education's huge, man. I mean, it really is, regardless of how you do it.
Yeah, that's what we got to hang our hat on, and that's all we can do, right? You can only help somebody that wants to be helped and try to educate as best you can, and hopefully it works out. Some circumstances are out of our control, but what we can control, we need to be really good and give the proper advice. A lot of people, the beauty about your industry is you have a commodity, but like you get what you pay for, right? For standards of trucks and reliability and longevity and comfort and all this different things. Insurance, people try to make a commodity and commoditize, so they're just looking for the cheapest. But I promise you, and I deal with this every day, when you have a claim or when you need help or like you actually need someone to educate you, you don't look and say, okay, did I spend the cheapest, but am I going to be covered, right? You don't ever give a shit when you have a claim that you bought the cheapest policy. You're just upset that you weren't covered or ill-advised or not properly guided, right? And then all of a sudden you're out of pocket $50, $100 million. I mean, who knows? You name it. I mean, these attorneys you labeled kind of California. California is a bad venue. Texas isn't a great venue. Florida's not a great venue. There's certain states, you know what I mean? There's certain states that like we advise our clients like, hey, this is what we're up against in some of these states. So when you're running here, like, make sure you're buttoned up, man. Just make sure your driver files are in order. Your hiring process is in order. How do you hire drivers? How do you train them? How do you onboard them? How do you discipline them? Do you maintain their file? If it wasn't written, it never happened, right? I mean, there's all these things that people don't think about because, like you mentioned, hey, I'm an owner and I'm wearing a bunch of hats. It's not that they didn't want to or they don't care or they're not all in. It's just that they don't have either the time or the resources or the know-how, and so.
Well, and to your point, I mean, a lot of people do they knock how important having good insurance is, and it's so unfortunate because one bad claim really is what puts you out of business. As well, it's another thing that could put you out of business, and I mean, and the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. The odds really are stacked against you. I mean, lawyers start to froth at the mouth.
Yeah.
When they can find a commercial vehicle lawsuit, right? I mean, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to win it. 1, and 2, it's the big boy money, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do they why do they care about $30,000 claims when they can go hit $1 million liability policy, and probably win, even if it was. I mean, we had an interesting story for you guys, and it'd probably be good to share to your clients. So I went to the Utah Trucking Association this year. And they brought out the National Trucking Association, and the rep probably had a 45-minute speech. I slept through most of it, but the part that I was awake for is, no, I'm kidding. The significant majority of that 45 minutes, I'd argue probably 30 minutes of it, all he wanted to talk about was the basically insurance claims and lawyers setting trucking companies up. This really does happen.
Yeah.
Like. Where they actually will set companies up to be in a stage of wreck and then take that company for everything they have. And I mean, if you don't have a good insurance company to back you, right? And more importantly, if you don't have a person that's going to come and back you and fight for you and try to do what's right, I mean, it's a death sentence, man, and it happens all the time. And it's something that's only getting worse. I mean, there's lobbyists there's lobbyists that are completely lawyers and people that are specifically trying to change policy in order to be able to only make it even easier to do these kind of things. So Insurance is extremely underrated.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I don't want to tangent on insurance because people will go right to sleep if we do that. So we'll steer off that. But you mentioned some. I mean, mafia and crime organizations are still in operation. They've turned to cyber. They've turned to staging. They've turned to, figuring out, okay, we can get this. Here's our bucket of money that's available. A rolling ATM. We all know. Shit, Ricky, you drive around Vegas. Man, like I drive down the strip or the freeway because the taxi driver takes me the long way to wherever I'm going, and all I see is billboard, 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 claim, attorneys or personal injury claims, or did you get hit by a big truck or semi, and like it's that nonstop. That's all you see.
Well,
it's borderline offensive. You're 100% right. Yes.
Yeah, it's very predatory and definitely something I don't agree with. But hey, systems are what they are.
You just got a psychology degree. Nobody gives a shit.
Right. As far as the mafia and things like that go, I mean, didn't we just have a claim in our agency with someone's entire cargo load being stolen? I mean, it's not just the way that they can pin people in accidents and things like that. They're also able to take advantage of the shortage of items to be able to go steal, to get motivation to go steal these things and then sell them on the aftermarket so they can make free money. So insurance, again, in this case, does help protect against those kinds of things. And a lot of people don't even think about these things when they're starting these companies. They're only thinking about how to move the product, how to maximize their money, and that's perfect.
Absolutely.
We want those goals, but these are considerations that need to be made, and people like the three of us are going to be able to help be able to bring these things up for you.
Well, and I want to. I think what you just said ties back perfectly into I believe a point Cameron brought up is, there's they have to be able to partner with people like you said. I sell a commodity. Kenworth is known for the quality and being a higher end product. Typically, you're going to pay a little bit extra for it too, but the truck sells itself. I very rarely need to sit down and tell people about the PSI strength of our steel frames and all these different things that make our cabs airtight for a million miles and tell them all these features and benefits of Kenworth. In fact, when I first started, that's all I was doing. I was like, okay, what's the value proposition of this product? I need to make sure I understand this commodity forwards and backwards. And you know how many questions I get typically when selling a Kenworth on what the quality's like? It's like zero. Like no one ever gives two shits. They know what they're getting. All right, they know Kenworth's been around forever. It's the world's best truck. I would never sell anything else as far as this commodity goes because it really is the best. But the plug. But there's the thing that they're really buying is the thing that they're really buying is a relationship, and it's because of exactly what you're talking about. What I tell fleets is, look, I want you to focus on how to best recruit. I want you to pick 2 or 3 things that you feel like you're an expert at, that you're the expert in your field. It can be how to operate the truck. It can be how to work on it, how to get freight contacts. What are you great at? Are you a people person? I want you to focus on that. And for now, at least until you get a lot bigger, I want you to outsource and partner with people you can trust for the rest. You need to be able to partner with people like you guys to be experts in your field, right? They're not insurance experts, okay? They shouldn't be. They shouldn't spend. There's only so many hours in the day. They shouldn't be spending a significant amount of their time, doing those things. They need to be able to trust their people to make the right recommendations for them as far as insurance goes. Same thing goes for the equipment. If you're not an equipment expert, then yeah, you want to partner with a sales rep that can be an expert in his field. That's going to accomplish the goals you have, whether it's fuel efficiency, just looking badass so you can get the best drivers and the coolest rides, or whatever it is you want to do with your business. So it's all partnerships. People buy people, not products. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. They don't buy your service, guys. They don't.
No, they don't. They can buy from anyone, right? Ricky, there's so many people that sell everything across the country that they can order outsource work with. This is what you should do. I would buy a Kenworth just to buy a Kenworth if you put an air freshener, Big Daddy Fat Sack air freshener hanging off the front. Dude, I would buy it.
Be your person.
Just a big air freshener, man, just hanging there.
Oh man, I should do something. I really gotta get my tag out there, man.
I love it.
I gotta step it up. No, they're That's funny. I mean, you should see some of these trucks though that these guys put together. They can get creative. Some of these drivers can get
Oh, I
creative,
know.
man. I mean,
They're tricked
like
out too, man. A lot of people take pride on that stuff, and they'll. We got a lot of show truck clients, and you wouldn't know that
hell
those
yeah.
trucks are 80s, or 90s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they're crisp, like super
Mm-hmm.
clean.
They are mint. Yeah.
Every now
My
and
dad's
then.
one of them.
Oh,
You should see this man's Peterbilt. It's crazy. I mean,
Yep.
and a lot of these Kenworths that I build, I right now I got, I don't know, probably six Kenworths in the body shop in Salt Lake City at the Kenworth Sales Company up there, and they're getting 20, 30, $50,000 worth of work done to them. Flush mounted deck plates, custom badging, air ride suspension, paint. I mean, you name it, exhaust stack. Like the list goes on and on and on. And these trucks just come out badass, and these drivers take pride in it, And I mean, one of them that we did, it was super freaking funny. There were you know what window chops are that go along the driver and passenger window, so it hides a portion of the window, right? And he had me put "Show me your boobies" across the top of the window, so when he rolls his window down, that comes down. You see "Show me your boobs," and just shit like that, dude. So I mean, these guys, and they run nice rigs, man. I mean, those are some of my favorite trucks to put together. Obviously I'm in this business to consult fleets, and I like doing big boy deals. That's what really gets me going. I love talking seven figures or more. But on the flip side of that, if you go to my Instagram or you go to KW Kingdom, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, put the plug out for that, because where do people connect, follow, and all that good stuff? So.
Heck yeah. LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Instagram's KW_Kingdom. But what I was getting at is if you go to my Instagram, you're all that's posted are just the badass rigs, right? That's some of the best marketing is like, hey, look what I built, and so definitely not hating on a fleet spec, because that has its time and place, and it's necessary. But some of those trucks are pretty cool, guys.
No, that's awesome. I love that, man. That stuff's exciting, and they take so much pride in that. A lot of my clients, it's like they'll tell me about this cherry truck they just did or project, and they'll send me like 10 pictures, right, of every angle and lights and lit up and rolling and all this kind of stuff, man. It's badass. I love that stuff. That's so cool. That's sweet. Ricky, how are you getting any sleep? For those that don't know, Ricky has like a 2-month-old at home. New dad,
Yeah.
so congratulations,
Yeah.
by the way, on that. And I've got two little daughters, so I'm out of that phase, but I know what you're going through. So how are you functioning at your high level, man? Energy drinks.
A lot of I got coffee sponsors. I'm kidding. Yeah, you see me drinking the Monster. No, I have the world. I mean, no lie. I have to have one of the world's best wives. So make sure you don't cut that part out, because I'm going to show
We
you
won't
this
cut
part.
anything. Live and uncut, man. This is
is that another
unplugged.
plug?
Plug Rachel. No, she really is. She's amazing. I mean, I tease her. I tell her she basically was educated to be the world's best mom. I mean, because and she is, man. She takes so much off of my shoulders. She helps out with everything at home. She takes care of 2 dogs. She takes care of a 2-month-old baby. I try to be as much help as I can, but let's be honest.
She takes care of you.
She takes care of a 2-month-old baby and a 26-year-old baby. So no, I mean 100% without a shadow of a doubt, the way I do it is my wife makes sure we're very structured, we're very routine, we're boring people. We know exactly what we're going to eat every day, when we're going to eat it. We know exactly what we schedule out our personal time. I mean, who the hell does that, right? So we know exactly what we're doing on the weekends, hour by hour, what we're reading, banking situations, all of that stuff, and what she's doing. So she makes sure. And one of the big things, like I was mentioning before, your pillars of success. One of those pillars is sleep, and you have to get a certain amount of sleep, whatever's necessary for your body. I'm blessed in the fact it's probably 6 or 7 hours, which is a lot less than a lot of people. But my productivity levels and I'm still running a million miles an hour just because that's who I am. But I'm a lot more foggy, and I'm not as productive with the time that I utilize. If I don't get to that 6-hour hash mark.
Yep.
So, and she knows that, and she makes sure that I get those 6 hours. the good news is I could sleep through a tornado. So I mean, the baby doesn't wake me up, which is also kind of a concern. Probably
A little bit.
a little bit, but you know, it helps. But she's yeah. I mean, to answer your question, it's basically my wife.
Shout out to the queen. Can't have a king without a queen.
That's true.
That's right, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Partners, once again, people.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. I think, you know, you utilize block scheduling. It's funny because Thomas probably felt like we were going into one of my sales calls where I talk about block scheduling and stuff like that and mapping it out and goal planning naturally going into 2022, looking at 2023. And you got to be thinking ahead and how to get there and strategize and read and all that kind of stuff. So you sound similar to me. My wife and I just did 75 hard. Challenge. I don't know if you know about that, but anyways, it's like 2 workouts a day. So 2 a days, drink a gallon of water. 1 workout has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages of a book every single day, and it's like kind of self-help nonfiction type deal. Drink a gallon of water, pick a diet, no alcohol, no cheat meals, sugar, nothing like that, and then track your progress. So take pictures. So we had literally just got done with that right before Thanksgiving.
I've heard of that program too. Whose program is that?
Andy Frisella.
Andy Priscilla.
Yeah, and he has like a podcast and a book. I knew nothing about it. I had a buddy, because like you, I'm connected with other business owners, CEOs, or just kind of high level people. Try to surround myself with good people. And someone had posted, I don't know if it was LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. Anyways, someone posted a picture of this book. Knew nothing about it. I hopped in naturally. I take action, ordered it. Knew nothing about it. Got the book, read it, and realized what it was. It was like, oh, that's cool. Gave it to the wife. She read it in like a matter of hours. And then Monday, it's like, we're starting Monday. Let's go. That was like on a weekend. So and then next thing you know, Thomas sees me out working out twice a day and kind of just getting back to like an athlete shape. Because I grew up playing sports and stuff. And then with 2 kids, a business, and like this industry, it's like super easy to become complacent and lazy. So and I'm not a lazy person. Like you, I just run and do 1,000,000 miles an hour and plan and map out everything. So
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't call it laziness.
Way too, man.
no.
What's that?
I definitely wouldn't call it laziness. It's just a difference of priorities at the time. You know, like we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And people like you guys, you are not lazy. You guys are definitely always on the go. It's just a matter of what's a priority at the time. So it's important for us to always remember our why. We mentioned that earlier today. You know, why we're doing what we're doing. We're not doing this just to make money. We want to use that money to benefit ourselves, our family, and those around us.
I would have been a lawyer if I was doing that, man.
Right? Just putting some fake claims out there, get some truckers, getting some money.
Absolutely.
Hey, if you just wanted money, I mean.
Yeah.
If that's the
I like
motivation,
that
and
idea.
that's why when we get people like you, Ricky, it's so easy to have a conversation because you're passionate, you care, you genuinely care about the trucking community and industry and your clients, you know, and hey, that's why you get our referrals, man. I got to trust who I'm sending people to, right? So.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate that. Hey, what's on the roadmap for Kenworth? Anything big coming down the line? What's up with chips? What's up with all this stuff that's happening in the world?
Oh my goodness, man! Where do you want to
Well,
start?
we got a condensed version, so let's wrap it in 12.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a whole nother episode about that.
Yeah, like let me get my PowerPoints out. Yeah, no, I mean, as far as you know, a lot of innovation, as far as innovation goes, and you know, just some of the exciting stuff they got coming out. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon on that end. So I mean, the electric vehicles, Kenworth Truck Company and PACCAR is pouring a ton of R&D into developing electric and making it more cost efficient. Right now, I'm not gonna lie, where electric's at is more to me. And hopefully, you know, no one from Kenworth Truck Company sees this. But to me, it's probably more of a marketing type purchase. You know, hey, look, you know, we're running electric vehicles. And really cool. You know, funny enough, the very first client for Kenworth Truck Company who bought an electric vehicle was a power company.
Oh,
it was
funny.
a utility
Awesome.
power company. Right. You know, but imagine how that looks. They're over there going through lawsuits for polluting the environment, and they're like, but dude, we're buying like $250,000 freaking box trucks, you know, and building the infrastructure. But that's really what it is. Think of when Tesla first started. First you got to build out the infrastructure. You come out with a high cost, high end model, get people to buy that, start funding up the company. then you can slowly start to get into, you know, the kind of product that is for more mainstream buyers, like your Model 3, and then away you go. So, but the development and how far these electric vehicles are coming is just absolutely outlandish. I mean, I would probably argue within the next, I don't know, 5 years, you'll see a ton of these on the road, and you'll see lots of investment into the infrastructure nationwide to be able to support these vehicles. The other side of it is, you know, there's a lot of rumors on self-driving. I want to tell all drivers watching this podcast right now that you have nothing to worry about yet. Like, it's borderline a little embarrassing. But they are dumping a ton of money into that and trying to figure out exactly what they can do to work with drivers more than anything to help make the vehicle more safe. I mean, it's to take some of those responsibilities out of their hands so they can focus on other things, be it booking freight or you know, other ways to be more safe. But drivers are going to be necessary. Lots of camera development going on right now. You know, when I came into the industry, I got a kicker because, you know, this year we rolled out LED headlights. Okay, we got LED headlights, bitching, and we got self-canceling turn signals. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, guys, I'm not going into my clients and going, hey guys, look, you got to buy Kenworth because I got LED headlights now. Okay, you know, but what they have done is they've rolled out, you know, and what I've told them is, I mean, look at pickups and stuff. Take a fully, you know, go buy a fully loaded 2500 Silverado. I mean, when you kick that baby into reverse, what happens on that screen in front of you?
You can see everything.
You see everything. You get an eagle-eye version of your truck, and you know, and of course a reverse backup camera. The truck starts like shooting confetti out, and like
Bald eagle comes out.
Bald eagle comes out. And, you know, yeah, like yeah, I mean, it's just big. Yeah, right. I mean, and I'm like, and that truck's like $100,000, right? Yeah. But it's still, it has those capabilities. I'm like, why is that not in the commercial world yet? You know, I mean, like, of all people who could actually utilize that function, it's not a friggin' pickup truck, you know, or an SUV. It's 100% a semi-truck driver who's trying to back into a freaking dock at 80 foot long, and they're in California, so they're inches away from hitting this car, this dumpster, this old lady who won't get the hell out of the way, yeah. And you know, and they're finessing her in there, so. You're seeing a ton of camera development, which I'm super excited about, and then a lot of development on PACCAR engines. If you ask John, you know, and I get some hate for this, but I'm a huge believer in the MX-13 engine platform. I think it's fantastic, especially for over-the-road truck drivers. More fuel efficient. Extremely reliable at this point. In fact, it's the most reliable by B-Life rating, which basically tells you how many breakdowns, critical breakdowns you see on engines on average over 1 million miles. It has the best B-Life rating of B10, meaning that 10% of these engines have critical failures within the first 1 million miles, which is insane. You know, and they've been developing this engine left and right, and it's come a long way. After treatment systems are obviously a big deal, thanks California, and you know, all these different luxuries. So I mean, you're seeing a lot of development on that end. Obviously, the problem that we're having, like you happen to mention, is chip shortages and surcharges, and it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword. I mean, really, for trucking companies, right? Because on one hand, you're kind of causing your own shortages. You know, the rates going up. You got to. I mean, a lot of people truckers need to understand how that affects businesses, right? So when you come in and your truck price increased by 10%, well, you got to ask yourself, who took those parts to the plant for the truck to be assembled, right? Like, how did those parts get manufactured? How did they get to us? Well, when you're doing that you have $3,000, you know, cost increases just for freight alone, let alone manufacturing. Those parts are going to go up in cost. Kenworth's not in the business of losing money, no. Right? You know, we got to make some money too. So, you know, those costs are going to increase on the equipment side and other sides. I'm seeing some break loose, but then, you know, some of these part shortages break loose, and some of it I'm not. Yeah, we've had a ton of trucks released in December. We're starting to catch up, but it's a slippery slope. I mean, all it takes is another COVID variant to
Yep.
come out, and everybody starts sealing off their borders again, and next thing you know, you're screwed. So you just really don't know what's going to happen. And the thing with supply chain is there's the back one of the key portions of the supply chain is the storage side of it. You know, these it's not like these parts or these products just come overseas and immediately go to a household to get used. You know, it's they're going to go sit somewhere. Well, all those warehouses and stuff where those parts sit are completely empty, right? So they have to get filled back up, right? You know, right now that is what's happening. All the parts are already accounted for, so they're going straight, basically, you know, theoretically, let's say, straight to the factory, getting used up, trucks built, so on and so forth. So not only do we need to, which in turn is creating part shortages for people who just need to replace parts, like people who walk into the dealer and want something as simple as a concentration sensor for their dang DEF tank, and they can't get it, so their truck's down 6 weeks. You know, well, you know, we have to fill all that backlog too. So I'm kind of rattling on here, as you can tell.
But I think it's an important topic. I talked to a client of mine this morning. They broke down part that should be readily available. They can't get it. It's legit nowhere. They've exhausted resources to every avenue that they can find, and they're looking at a month to possibly 2 months on a down truck for a single part. I mean, it's banana. Now it's like I think it's a pretty major part, obviously, and component to bring a truck down. But yeah, it's crazy. I think it's important.
I got another guy that's going through the same situation. He's a single owner up, going well all year, had a mechanical breakdown issue, couldn't get the part, had to close his DOT authority down, had to go lease on, use someone else's vehicle. His truck is still in the shop waiting those parts, and the mechanic is just saying the same thing. Like, we can't do anything. All the parts are gone. And it's definitely impacted a lot of people out there. So planning ahead definitely is one of these things that we need to help people do.
It's huge, and I mean, exactly. And then they can't order the parts, right? Like, you can't. That is the biggest problem right now. Is even let's say they do want to plan ahead. Let's say you're smart enough to go out and stock those parts. The likelihood of you being able to even get one of those parts, like the really critical parts that are on super back order, the likelihood of you even be able to pre-order one of those parts is pretty much zero.
Oh.
I mean, the only way you can get those parts is if you actually have a truck down. What happens then is the service department is able to create what we call a truck down order, and that allows, and then at that point we'll get, you know, that part shipped from the local PDC when the part finally arrives to the distribution center. So it's a bit of a nightmare. So on one hand, what I meant by the double-edged sword is not only is it somewhat causing your own dilemmas, but the other side of it is also while you want the supply chain to speed up so you can start getting your trucks, getting your equipment, having all this stuff. You don't want it to speed up so much that you end back up at the $1.30 a mile type freight on the load board. That's a death sentence for a lot of owner operators who don't have direct contacts with shippers. Once again, come see your boy. I'll help you out.
Plug.
Love it.
But there's that's horrible for them. So in order to, I don't think we're ever going to get back to like where we were in 2008, knock on wood, but as far 18 rather, where, you know, with rates, but you know, rates will go down when we catch back up. The best thing that I can tell anybody who's viewing this podcast is you have nothing to worry about for at least the next year and a half of rates correcting. At least in my humble opinion, just because, once again, you have to fill up all of those distribution centers, you have to fill up all the warehousing, get everything restocked. You know, all these trucks have to release that are sitting on fairgrounds in the middle of Chillicothe, Ohio, or wherever they're located because they're missing a dang, engine control module. And then once all that happens, you have to replenish the dealerships. You know, you have to get trucks on the ground again. There is zero new stock trucks industry wide. I have do you guys know kind of what the price points are for equipment at all?
Yeah, I've got a good idea based on what we insure. So.
Oh yeah, well yeah, touche. Okay.
But not to the in-depth level that you probably get, like with the pricing sheets to sell. So I don't have that, but.
And you don't need it. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is a new truck after FET and everything, you might be out. Let's just ballpark numbers. Let's call it 165 grand, right? 165 grand. That gets your wheels rolling on a new side. On a used side, when I first started on used side, which the used market was terrible, but I mean, on a used side, say take like a 2016 with 450,000 miles on it, pretty standard spec T680, down over the road truck, type spec sleeper. That truck probably is $60,000. So just yesterday we had found some 2019 Freightliners, or 2019 Freightliners that we bought. So I mean, they're a Freightliner too. I mean, God, it's 2000.
Desperate times,
Same idea, which is over the road, full sleeper, automatic. And they had 300-ish thousand miles on it, and we had to list those things at like 140 grand.
Dude, that's bananas.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So you bring up a good point there, and like we're gonna have to wrap this up because I want to be respectful of your time. But like folks don't understand that the used market and the actual cash value of your trucks, if you haven't talked to your insurance agent or you haven't reviewed like what you've got, those prices have all changed. I mean, they really have. They've done nothing. The used market, especially if you got the 2000 trucks and older for the ELD mandate, but you're going into California, so you got the different set of stipulations. Those trucks are in high demand, especially with the shortage of new stuff. And I mean, I got guys, like you just said, selling their used stuff for shit more than they paid for them. It's crazy.
100%.
So that's something to think. And it's funny, normally we ask is like, hey, if you were to have this message and this billboard of some wisdom, some Ricky, Big Daddy Fat Sack wisdom that you want to share with the listeners, like what's the one piece of advice that you would give to folks?
First, get a bitch and CB tag.
Yes.
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And second, just soak up as much information as you possibly can. Whatever you can do to build your network, and to learn the basic foundation of every aspect of this industry, do it. But don't try to do it all yourself. Like realize that there's people out there who are specialists and experts in their field. When I have people asking very specific insurance questions that I think I could answer, but I'm not quite comfortable, I'm going to send them to Cam and Thomas. If I have finance questions that are being asked, same thing. I got to defer to my experts. And as a business owner, you got to do the same. Your time is going to far exceed the value of money at one point in your life. When you reach a certain level of success, your time is going to be worth everything. You can't make more of it, right? So be willing and understand the value of trusting in people that you've built relationships with, and then build those relationships, and the world's yours. You can do whatever you want. And don't settle for 10 or 12 trucks. Go be the next
Call my boy Ricky and run. Let's go.
That's right.
Let's go. Okay, man. Dude, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. There was so much amazing value and content in there, and no doubt everybody needs to get a hold of Ricky and chat with him because he's a valuable asset and resource, like he had mentioned, for not just trucks, but has a ton of experience, a ton of connections and resources. So let's utilize those. So I know you had mentioned your tag, KW_Kingdom, right?
KW_Kingdom.
Okay, and then if folks want to get a hold of you for, let's say, sales process and not just to follow you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
First email, we'll set a meeting. rglaubitz, RGLAUBITZ @kwsco.com. We'll get a meeting set, and I can cover or answer any kind of questions that you may have.
Right on. Man, thank you so much. Thomas, thank you for hopping in, man. I appreciate you. So, as always, that concludes this episode. You can link with us on LinkedIn, Facebook. We do have a Facebook group. Get a load of this trucking podcast. So, go hit us up with a request. We'll let you in there. And as always, we're on every major platform, Spotify, Apple, you name it. You can find us. So, Ricky, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Sweet. Go be great, guys.
Yeah, you too.